Hi everyone, Mike Forster here and welcome back to Depression Quest. Where we left off last time, we were in a position where we were feeling quite isolated despite the fact that Alex is with us, and we were concerned that we're holding her back because she's giving up things she wants to do to make sure we feel okay. So what are we going to do? Are we going to ask Alex if she's happy? Or are we going to not say anything because we're already worried about her being upset with you? This one is really hard because I'm trying to approach these choices as someone with depression. And if that's the case, then I probably need to say option 4. Don't say anything because you're already worried about her being upset with you. Because he is worried. We know that. Option 3 is the kind of option that's looking for reassurance. And, that can be something when you have low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, it can be a symptom of that, is that need for constant reassurance that everything's okay, that people are still happy with you. And that goes back to maybe what we talked about a couple of episodes back, about Alex being a crutch for our protagonist, and that he's able to do stuff with her, but not without. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to go with, we're not going to say anything because we're worried. Because I think that's where we are at this point. So this is far from the first time you would have had this conversation with her. Yeah, it's the reassurance. And it's one that plays out the same way every single time. You explain your fears of being worthless. She tells you that she doesn't see you that way. You insist that she is biased or just being nice because she has to be. And she gets frustrated. It never gets resolved. Nothing new is ever said. And rarely do you feel reassured by it. Again, we're going in circles here. We need to change the cycle of negativity. You're going to work being miserable. You're coming home being miserable. Whether you do go to a party or you don't go to a party, you're miserable. We need to get some professional help here. This bit down here is starting to annoy me. You are deeply depressed. Activities, start seeing somebody. We need to see somebody here. Occasionally, Alex tries to broach the subject, trying to discover why you feel like this about yourself. This always makes you nervous, again, because we don't know how to describe it, how to talk about it. You're sometimes convinced that the only reason Alex is with you is because she doesn't know how awful you really are. Oh, bless him. As time has gone on, you've gotten more comfortable trying to express bits and pieces of your insecurities, but it still causes you to feel very on guard, and it's not a conversation you can have for too long without worrying you're going to scare her away. The weight of an unspoken, unresolved issue in your relationship joins you in the room for a little while, but you dare not pick at it for the rest of the night. So, we are now deeply depressed. Even activities you used to enjoy hold little or no interest for you. For example, remember our Lego project at the beginning of this? We were kind of humming and hawing whether we'd do any of it. In the end, we decided we didn't. Now we're at the frame of mind where we don't even think about doing it. We're not seeing a therapist or a doctor or a counsellor, and we're not taking any medication. It's a breezy Sunday, so we skip forward a couple of days. You've allowed Amanda, an old friend from school that is in town for the weekend, to talk you into leaving the house for a coffee and a catch-up. Excellent. And you meet her in a small cafe and talk about what you've been up to since you've last seen each other. And you can't help but feel like Amanda's a lot more accomplished and interesting than you are whilst listening to her talk about her life after school. It's this compare and despair thing. Don't compare and despair. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes of people's lives. Amanda's not going to tell you that she's had a period of depression, or she, broke her leg for 6 months and got really down and couldn't talk to anybody about it. She's going to tell you what she's achieved. Right? This is the issue we have with social media as well. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. But social media, body image and all that, you only ever see what people want you to see. Right? Whenever you're looking at social media, be aware that you're only seeing what people want you to see. And keep that in mind. Don't make any judgments about yourself on what you see on social media, please. So when it's your turn to brief Amanda on your activities, you feel anxious and ashamed and give a very abbreviated version. You try to talk about your job as little as possible. We already know he's not very proud of his job, he's not very into it. And you feel incredibly boring while you describe it, despite her expressing sincere interest in you and your life. Amanda has known you long enough to read your mood and tone of voice. She leans in to ask a question while gently touching your hand, with a look of concern on her face. "What's wrong?" she says. Now, do we? 1 and 2 we can't do. We can't suggest a change of location and confide in her, because again, we don't know how to talk about it. We can't test the waters and open up a little, hoping she'll understand. I'm not sure why we can't do that, considering we've known her a long time. But okay. Option 3, 4, 5, we can do. We can insist that nothing is wrong and change the subject. We can defensively ask, "What do you mean by that?" Or we can notice that our hands are shaking. To be honest, I don't like any of those options. I feel like I would want to test the water and open up a little if it was somebody I've known a long time. I mean, I have friends I've known for years and years, and, you know, a couple of them know quite a lot about my history battling depression and anxiety. And I would, if I was in this position with them, I would test the water. And see if they were in the right frame of mind and they had enough time to hear me out. But since I've got to pick one of the options here, I'm not going to insist that nothing is wrong, because it clearly is. And I feel like our protagonist here needs to say something to somebody, because he's getting worse and worse at the moment by bottling it up and pretending everything's okay. So I'm not going to defensively ask, because, you know, she's asking a genuine question. She showed sincere interest. There's no reason that we should be rude and try to fob her off. So we're going to pick option 5. Our hands are shaking. It's such a small question from Amanda, but it feels like a blow to the gut. You surprise yourself when you realize that your tightly clenched fists are now beginning to shake slightly. Despite your best efforts, you feel tears begin to sting at your eyes. Good. Because you can't hide tears, and you can't then say everything's okay when Amanda asks you. Get it out. You know, not all tears are an ill. You try to disguise this by tilting your head up and praying that they'll suck back in. Don't. Stop hiding it. And I know why he's trying to hide it, and I know that is an element of depression and the stigma and all that. But please, you know, if anybody's watching this and they're struggling with depression or anxiety, don't do what this guy's doing. Don't hide it for this long until, you know, it gets worse and worse. Confide in somebody, be it family, friends, or professional. Speak to somebody. Amanda suggests that the two of you get out of there, and you feel mortified. She offers to go back to your apartment with you, but the two of you end up talking in her car for 2 hours as the words just pour forth from you. Amanda seems unsure of what to say at times, but she listens and rubs your back as you sob and talk. She asks if you've gone to a doctor about this, and you admit that you haven't. She mentions that her mother is seeing a very good therapist in town and offers to ask her about it. You're not thrilled about the idea of going to a therapist, and even less thrilled that Amanda might be telling someone about your problems. But she persists and tells you she'll email you the doctor's contact information later in the week. Finally, we've got it out. We've confided in somebody. And, Amanda has been very understanding. Yeah, she's unsure of what to say. Anybody would be, but that's not our problem, right? We just needed to get that out. We don't need people to tell us, oh, everything's going to be okay, or to give us the answers. At that point in time, our protagonist just needed to get out the way he was feeling. And thank goodness for Amanda being such a good friend. And of course, the other side of that is, if we had hidden that from Amanda and somehow managed to stop the tears coming out and, stiff up her lip kind of thing, then our protagonist would never have got this doctor's information because he would never have had that conversation with Amanda. It's always worth talking to somebody. A couple of days later, it's a sunny Monday, and one of the few days that your brother Malcolm is in town and free long enough for you two to actually see each other. You have a dental appointment that day, but you make plans for him to pick you up afterwards. Excellent. So, we're going out. There's no issue about going out. We're catching up with our brother. That's great. So we've got family we're close to, I'm guessing. Your appointment at the dentist takes a little longer than expected because your dentist tells you that you started grinding your teeth in your sleep to a worrying degree. Given how nearly everything in your life has been feeling enormous and stressful lately, this doesn't come as a surprise to you. He suggests that you try to reduce your stress levels and fits you for a night guard. It feels awkward and too big for your mouth, and you feel embarrassed looking at your puffed out face in the mirror with it. You finish up the appointment in a hurry and leave about half an hour overdue for your meeting. Your always punctual brother in the parking lot. I mean, he's got to understand that. And I've actually had, work done on my teeth in the past. And yeah, it does feel awkward and it does feel bad for your mouth having those sort of retainers and stuff in. But nobody's going to see you. You're in the house. You finish up as quickly as possible and leave the building to scan the parking lot for your brother's car, but you don't see his old Civic anywhere. You pass by a blue Camaro and jump as it beeps at you, causing you to jump in surprise. It takes you a moment to realise it, but it's Malcolm in the driver's seat. That's mean. I mean, he's probably doing it for a laugh, but it is kind of mean. You hop in the passenger seat and compliment him on his new ride, and he mentions that it's a perk of a promotion he's recently obtained at work. Hey, go Malcolm. He starts telling you about how much more money he's making, how his career is really taking off, and how he's starting to look at houses with his wife soon. I have a feeling I know where this is going. I really hope this doesn't make us feel inadequate. You clutch the bag containing the night guard in your hand and feel yourself clench your teeth as you think of your crummy apartment and how long it's been since you've been able to take a day off work without having to worry about making ends meet. Malcolm's only 2 years older than you, but it feels like he's eons ahead of you in every other aspect of your life. So, he asks, how did your appointment go? Did you get drilled full of holes or what? A sense of shame creeps over you. Right. I'm going to stop the episode there. Just touch upon what we've read there. We are feeling inadequate compared to Malcolm. Again, I've mentioned it already in this episode, but compare does cause despair. And we don't know what Malcolm's life's like apart from what he's telling us. So don't take too much from that. What it does look like is in the next episode, I have a feeling we're going to hopefully be seeing a doctor. So I hope you'll all come back for that episode. Again, I hope you're getting something out of this. And if you are, please drop a like on the video. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And I wish you all good health and good well-being and stay safe.